If the idea of being more visible makes you uncomfortable, this episode is for you. Because for many high performing women, the issue is not confidence, it is the fear of being seen as too much, too self promotional, or out of alignment with who you are. In this episode, I'm joined by Kelly Schuknecht to talk about why so many capable women stay behind the scenes, how thought leadership is not self promotion but clarity, and what it really looks like to be seen for the value you already bring. If you have ever felt like you have strong ideas but hesitate to speak up or put yourself out there, this conversation will change how you think about visibility. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's get into it. Hello, welcome to the show. My guest today is Kelly Schuknecht. Kelly has spent more than 17 years in marketing, working with entrepreneurs and professionals as they grow their career and businesses. But like many women, her path wasn't linear. It was shaped by the tension between ambition and family, the pressure to be visible without being too much, and the quiet fear many women carry about speaking up, even when they know they have something valuable to say. Over time, Kelly began to see thought leadership not as self promotion, but as a way women clarify their thinking, claim their expertise, and be seen for the value they already bring. Today, her work centers on helping professionals find their voice and use it intentionally, especially in seasons where visibility can feel risky or uncomfortable. I'm so excited for this conversation. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm excited as well. I can't wait to dig into this conversation.
So you've been in marketing for a long, long time, but your journey, like we just said, wasn't a straight line. When you look back, where did your confidence feel hardest to access?
Ooh, so I mean, I still struggle with confidence, right? And imposter syndrome, but I would say where I struggled the most was when I was on a leadership team in my last job before I started my company where I was the only woman. And when you're sitting around a table and you're the only woman in a room full of leaders, it's hard to be confident and to speak up even when you feel like you should, but you feel like you don't get the opportunity.
Right. Yes. And I feel like there's a lot of our listeners that they are struggling with being seen or heard. And so what advice do you give to them?
Well, in that environment, I mean, I earned a spot at the table, right? But it was hard to really feel comfortable being myself. And I think for me, it was the when I started my own business and finally put myself in the spotlight, I gained my own confidence. I mean, I joked earlier that I still don't feel confident and struggle with imposter syndrome, but I think we all do
I
at,
think we do,
yeah,
especially as women, we
yeah.
just that's just something we all do. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, I gained a lot of confidence just in putting myself out there. And I do a lot of online content. One of the things I started doing was years ago was TikTok because it's really uncomfortable to record a video talking to yourself.
Yes.
And I forced myself to do it. And now I do it all the time and I'm very comfortable, but it was just the forcing myself to put myself in that position, even when it didn't feel great at the
Yes.
time.
Stepping out of that comfort zone. And I mean, it's
Yes.
always hard to do that at first, but then when you look back, you're like, wow, look at what I would have missed out had I not done that.
Right.
I feel
Yeah,
like.
absolutely.
So you talked in your bio we mentioned thought leadership. What exactly is thought leadership to you and what does that mean?
So I love that that you asked this question because I literally just within the last hour recorded a video that I just put on TikTok talking about, and you can tell because I'm wearing this exact thing. I talked about the difference between personal branding and thought leadership because those are two things that I talk about often. I go out and speak on the topics of personal branding and thought leadership. So, thought leadership is what people, the expertise that you have that people come to you for, right? Or that you maybe that you want people to come to you for. So, the example that I gave in that video is that when I worked in publishing, people would often come to me saying, "Oh, I've always wanted to write a book," or "How do I write a book?" or "I wrote this book and how do I publish it?" Right? They were coming to me because they saw me as that thought leader who would give them the answers to those questions.
Right, right. I love that. That's awesome. Because I mean, so there's a difference, and then personal branding is just what you're putting out there, and kind of like it's not the thinking part, it's just the visual part. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
So personal branding, on the other hand, is how people perceive you, right?
Mhm.
So the working in publishing was also a part of my personal brand, but I was also, I was a mom. I was talking about my kids. I was, whatever topics I was showing up and talking about, people were associating me with those things, and they're putting that whole picture together, right?
Right.
So it's how you're perceived versus kind of that expertise that you have. But if you want to develop a thought leadership platform, if you want to be a thought leader on a certain topic specifically, you have to develop a personal brand. Those two things go hand in hand.
Yes. I love that. So what have you noticed about women, especially because that's who's listening, that makes them stay quiet and invisible while they're at work or in their careers, instead of, they have all these amazing thoughts, and they can bring value. So what do you think, do you see most for them holding themselves back?
So the first talk that I gave when I started my business was this, and this was not from talking to other women and understanding other women's perspectives. This was my perspective when I came out of the gate. Went out and gave a talk. I called myself the person behind the person, and how I branded my presentation was like uncovering the person behind the person, and I told my story. And I could not believe how many women were like, that's me. That is my situation too, right? We tend to be good support people. We tend to, I call myself the person behind the person. I was in two different roles. I was the person that a male CEO could rely on, right? He had the ideas. He was the visionary. I was the person who got all the stuff done.
Right.
And I helped him in both cases grow his business, accomplish his goals, and make more money, right?
Right.
And when I finally said, you know what, I think I'm just going to try this myself, I'm going to do my own thing. And I started telling that story. So many women were like, that's me. Like I am the person behind the person
Right.
because we're comfortable being that. And we feel like that other person has all the answers. That other person knows where the direction we're going. And I'm just helping them, right? We're
Right.
helpers by nature,
Yes.
but we don't see our own potential. And for me, it was when I finally said, I'm going to do this, and started having success. It was like, oh, like, why did I hide behind somebody for 20 years in my career? I didn't trust myself to take that leap. And it was just when I finally had to take that leap because I was laid off that I saw that I was capable of doing that.
Yeah, and I think that the listeners are going, "Yep, me too," raising their
Yep.
hands, like, "I feel you. I've been there. I've done that. Like, that's where I am right now." Because you're right. We as women, and even as a mom, like you mentioned, moms, we're helpers. We don't always see our value because we do the laundry, do cooking, we take that care of the house, and usually with little thanks, because the kids don't always thank you until later in life. And so that translates into our career, I feel like. And so I love, like, okay, pushing yourself, whether it's your choice or not, out of that, and to then say, okay, I see my value and I do have all that value. I love that.
Yes. Yeah. That was my experience. And, as I've gone out and talked with women and told my story, I have just seen how many women that resonates with. And my mission right now is to help women see their potential and to take a leap of faith. And, if they're dreaming of starting that business like I was, I want people to know that they can do it.
Right. They can. They have that in them. So it's so okay, if someone's feeling overlooked at work right now, and let's say she's not able to maybe take a leap and start a business, but she wants to get a promotion, she wants to get higher up, she wants to be seen by leadership, what would you suggest?
Yeah. So your personal brand, going back to that, we talked about personal brand and thought leadership. Your personal brand is something you can develop even when you're working for someone else. I was doing that. So I became this thought leader on personal branding or thought leader on thought leadership totally accidentally because I was doing this just out of fun. Like I had a job, but I started a blog. I was blogging. I was doing a little bit of, a little bit of author coaching, a little bit of side hustle kind of thing. I wasn't really trying to make money. I was just more like exploring how can I help people and, what might this look like? So I was doing that and I was testing every social media channel. When Twitter came out, I was on Twitter. When, TikTok, I
Yeah.
just was like, I want to see what works and how to engage with people. So anyone at any stage in their career, whether they're just out of college and they're thinking about like wanting to get a job, or they're in a career and they're thinking like, what might that career path be for me? Whether it's getting promoted or getting, maybe having opportunities at other jobs, you have to get visible. And so some of that is pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone to do things like it doesn't have to be one specific thing, but to do things like, video content on a certain platform. And it doesn't have to be TikTok. I actually started with doing some book reviews on LinkedIn. So nonfiction books that I had read that I was like, I loved this book and I want to share what I learned. Like things like that I was doing. Uh, and part of what I wanted was for people to associate me with books. And so that was like part of, it was
I
like
love
I'm
that.
reading a book, I'm sharing my learning, I'm pushing myself to put this video out there. But really what I want is for people to go, "Oh, she's the person who reads all the time or she knows, about publishing, she knows about writing a book." Um, and it worked, right? So over
Right.
time, I had people coming to me going, I wrote a book and I want to publish it. Like, can you help me? And um, so for any stage in your career, and if you're like me, at the time I was in a job and I was dreaming about starting my own company, having a personal brand is going to help you really hit the ground running if and when that opportunity does come for you.
I love that. And I love that you talk about it coming from your passion because that makes it easier and it's something that you already enjoy. So it makes the scary, if that's what you want to call it, just a tad easier because you would go and tell your friend, "Hey, I'm reading this amazing book," and you would tell them all about it. Instead, you're just filming yourself doing it. You could pretend that you're talking to your friend or whatever, but that passion's going to be felt, I feel like when you're on
Yes.
there, and then that's going to give you a little bit more confidence and it just builds onto that. So I think that
Yeah.
that's great. I love that.
Yeah, and that is a really good tip. If I think of it like the person that I'm talking to, whoever that message is, if it's, like, oh, I really want Shannon to know about this, and I just record something for you, right?
Right. Right.
It's more comfortable for the person recording to have an audience person in mind.
Yes, yes. I know I've had my daughter come and stand in front of my computer before, and just so I can have a conversation with her, like pretend like I'm having, but it's being recorded
Yep.
so that it just flows better and sounds more natural than.
Yeah. Yeah. But the more you do it, the easier it gets too, and and again, it doesn't have to be video content. It could be LinkedIn posts, for if you're in the corporate world, that might be a good way to put some content out there and get known within your organization or opportunities outside of that. Or it could be blog posts. It could be other social media channels. There's different ways. So you don't have to get stuck on the video thing and go, I'm never doing that. There's other ways to put content out there. So whatever you are comfortable with to start with that. And then from there, you can maybe push yourself to try other things.
Yeah. And I think that all goes back to trusting your voice and trusting your message and seeing your value, which goes back to the beginning of that conversation because then even if you're in that career, you can speak up a little bit more because you have that confidence to say about to your boss, "Hey, maybe we should try it this way instead and see what happens."
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, where can the listeners connect with you best?
Yeah.
Obviously, TikTok. We've talked about
Well, yeah,
that.
TikTok for sure. LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me. So if you're a professional on LinkedIn, my content there is not quite as silly as my content on TikTok, but I do share tips around personal branding, thought leadership, writing a book, those types of things on LinkedIn, which is, I'm sure you can put the link in the show notes, Shannon, because I
Yes.
don't have an easy name to spell, but it's my name, Kelly Schuknecht.
Yes, I will.
Also, another link I'll share with you that you can share with the audience is I do have a personal brand quiz that people can take. So if you're somebody who is thinking like maybe I should do this, maybe I should try to develop my personal brand. The quiz is free and it's quick. It's like 3 minutes, but you go through and it gives you some tips on how to like what to work on to develop your personal brand. So for audience listeners who are interested in that, it's a great kind of starting point and a great resource.
Awesome. That sounds like great thing to do. So, as we start wrapping up today, I love leaving my listeners with an action item or a mindset shift that they can take with them today. So, what would you advise? What small shift could they make this week to help them be more visible or more confident at work? What do you have?
I think it is that push yourself to do something outside of your comfort zone. So, it doesn't have to be video, but if you're putting out content on LinkedIn regularly and you're kind of ready to step it up or, thinking about it, record a video. Or if you're not posting on LinkedIn at all, and that is where you might connect with professional network kind of folks for whatever your goals are. Push yourself to post once a week and just make that commitment and put it on your calendar.
I love that because that's easy. It's something small and simple. So, well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Before you go, I want you to know this. You don't have to figure out your next move alone. If you're feeling stuck, under-recognized, or unsure what's realistically possible in your current role, I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your goals, your role, and what makes the most sense for you next. No pressure, just clarity. You can book that call through the link in the description. And if this episode resonated, would you share it with another woman who might need it right now? Leaving a review also helps this show reach more women who are ready for real career growth. I'll see you next time.